Have you ever thought about meeting Winnie the Pooh? I know it's a weird statement, but or a weird question, but I don't know. Something about the Winnie the Pooh cast is just lovely. My favorite Winnie the Pooh character, by the way, is Tigger. He's the best. Sorry, there is no objections. You cannot officially discuss this. It's true. It's just the truth. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, y'all. Anyways, hello everybody. This is That Manga Dude, and welcome to another episode of the FVI. This is the show where I talk about a first volume or a one-shot, and I discuss them in full for the most part, talking about art, story, characters, and a variety of other things, and rating them amongst the other volume ones that I decided to read and or rate. Most of the time I do the newest releases so that you guys are up to date on what's coming out, and occasionally we'll do older volumes, but I haven't done that in a bit, so yeah, I hope you guys are liking the current style that I'm doing, where I'm doing multiple volumes, discussing them and comparing them, even though most of the time they are incomparable because they are very different. But this time around, we got three very, very, very good volume ones. It's going to be a really hard one to rate, going to be completely honest. I don't know which one I'm going to choose to be number one, even though I read these fairly recently, been sitting on them and thinking about them, but it's going to be really fun. I hope you're excited. Let's get started now. So our first volume first came out in January of 2021 under Kodansha's Magazine Pocket, which is one of their manga websites. And it recently came out from Kodansha, of course, in August of 2023, and that is going to be Windbreaker Volume 1 from Satoru Nii. So let's get some information out there. There's quite a bit of notes that we have on this one for some reason. But original digital edition translation is from Jacqueline Fung. Original digital edition lettering is from Andrew Copeland. Original digital edition editing by Talia Sutton. Print edition lettering and layout by Michael Martin. Print edition editing by Tomako Nagano. And Kodansha USA Publishing edition cover design by Phil Balsman. Whew, yeah, not a lot of information about this one for some reason, but yeah, let's get started. Let's talk about the cover and the spine. So the cover and spine is going for that typical simple look. You have the main character here on the front with a pretty nice green. Actually, I kind of do enjoy the green, but as I've mentioned before, I'm not always the biggest fan of just white and one color covers and spines, so this one is just fine. I wish it could have been a little bit more interesting, but it's not terrible. It could be a lot worse, honestly. But yeah, let's get into our first part. So we're going to talk about the characters, aka one character. I'm going to be talking about the main character here. His name is Haruka Sakura. It is I don't know, something about his name is just hard for me to say. I want to say Hakura Sakura because it just, I don't know, my brain gets all mixed up. But he wants to become the strongest. He's very hot-tempered and easily angered and stuff like that. However, he does possess a really nice heart for people and really does care about protecting the weak, as he says, but really protecting anybody that he thinks doesn't deserve the anger, ire of others. So yeah, overall he's a very normal character, nothing super crazy, but I do think he is a good standard shonen character, although I don't remember if this is a shonen series. I don't think it is, or at least I didn't research that part. I probably should have, but that's on me. But regardless, he's a cool character. Seems like he's going to be really important, or going to do some cool stuff coming up into the later chapters, the next volumes. We'll see. But like I mentioned, let's talk about the story. The story is basically this kid is going to join this school that is known to have a bunch of roughhousers, a bunch of people who are just known for fighting and being gangsters and stuff like that. But he comes to realize, or comes to learn, that the school actually has kind of reformed itself. These roughhousers and hooligans and stuff like that have come to protect the community around them from ne'er-do-wells and other bad people around the city that are coming to attack their neighborhood. So they've become more like guardians and heroes for these people, and this guy is that's not what I want to be. I want to be the strongest. So it's about his story going to this school and becoming a part of this neighborhood watch, but also still trying to pursue his personal goal of becoming the strongest ever, or allegedly the strongest of this area or of all time, whatever. Yeah, the story is kind of weird. It's kind of whack, but the writing is pretty good across the board. There are a lot of likable characters even from the beginning, just from meeting the staff, or whatever you want to call them, the head honcho shows of the Neighborhood Watch to the main character and one of the other characters that you meet towards the beginning. Overall, pretty great characters. I'm really enjoying like how they kind of interact with one another, especially because there's two hotheads, him and another guy that you meet later in the volume. And yeah, overall, the cast is pretty cool. Excited to see where Volume 2 goes with it. But yeah, some pretty decent writing, and the story is very... has been done before, but I think it's going to be interesting because they're like, it's not your typical fighting high school kind of thing. It's not like Tenho Tenj where it's kind of like, oh, everyone's just kind of terrible. But let's talk about the art. So Windbreaker actually has some pretty good art across the board. I actually like a lot of the compositions, and a lot of the action scenes are also done really well as well. The character designs are kind of interesting to say the least. Main character suffers from main character syndrome where he's just got like the wackiest hair, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't know, there's something that's like kind of charming about his weird skunk slash like black and white cut hair. Overall, it's a pretty fun series. I actually really like the art quite a bit. I think I'm kind of downplaying it even though I really shouldn't be, because yeah, the art's actually pretty good across the board. Like I said, a lot of the character designs are just kind of interesting and odd, but overall, I don't know, some good perspective, there's some good compositions across the board. The action scenes are really, really nice as well. I don't know, it's a good time. Overall, Windbreaker is actually very good. I think my comments make it seem like I didn't like it that much, but I actually just really enjoy it. Even if it isn't like groundbreaking or anything, it's still a really fun time, and I think it's definitely worth if you like a battle shonen, or if you like one of those like gangster school life kind of ones. I would say this is definitely a must pick up. And even if you don't, I would say give it a shot. I think the characters are written well enough that you will be interested just in general. So yeah, give it a shot if you can. Alright, this next volume is probably one of the most hyped up series coming out of Shonen Jump in a very long time. And I say a very long time because, yeah, when I show you what it is, I think you'll know exactly what it is. But first debuting in February 14th, 2022 in the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine, so on the good old-fashioned Valentine's Day, it is the series Akane Banashi from Yuki Suinaga and Takamasa Moe, I believe that's how you pronounce it. So yeah, we finally have this in print. We've had this in digital for a while now, I believe. And yeah, let's get some information out there really, really quick. So we have Rakugo supervision from Keiki Hayashiya. Translation is from Stephen Paul. Shonen Jump lettering from Sneer Aharon, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. Graphic novel retouch and lettering from Vanessa Satone. Design from Yukiko Whitley, and editor is Ray First. So let's talk about this cover and this spine. It is super gorgeous. I love this cover and spine. It is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It has a really nice like gradient. I don't know why I was blanking on that word. Really cool title as well, like in terms of like the font they use, and just, I don't know, overall it's really, really cool, and it has like a really beautiful design just across the board. I'm really glad that the gradient goes from the front to the cover, front cover to the spine to the back cover. Super awesome, and it features the main character right in the front doing her thing. So let's get right into it. So characters, I'm only going to be talking about one because I don't want to spoil anything too much, but Akane Osaka is the girl in the front here. She's bright and cheery, and is a huge fan of Rakugo, which is an important part of the series, as I will come to talk about in the story. But she's really, really easy to root for. I mean, she is awesome. You just like, you could tell she's flawed in a way where she's like a little too like ambitious to want to push herself to do things a little bit out of her skill range, but she's always willing to learn. She's always understanding and willing to just like be better at her craft, Rakugo, which is awesome. And she's just, I don't know, she's really easy to root for. She's a super cool character, and she already gets like a decent amount of growth even within the first couple of chapters. I am super excited to see how her character grows throughout this series. It's gonna be a ton of fun. But let's talk about the story real quick. So the story is actually not about Akane at first. It's actually about her father here, here on the front, and he's trying to become a Rakugo storytelling master. He's trying to do this thing called the Shunichi exam, which is better explained in the series. So I would say just give it a shot, like or look it up and see what they're talking about. But basically, yeah, in order to become like a master Rakugo storyteller, you complete this exam in front of like a panel of judges in the audience, and then they judge you depending on how you like story told. So our main dad here is trying to do that for the first couple of like page, or the first chapter or two. I think it's the first chapter only, really. But yeah, so he puts on this like fantastic performance, but lo and behold, one of the leaders of the school decides to actually fail everybody at that test and expel them from the school. So it's this huge controversy, a big scandal. Everyone's kind of confused because it seemed like the crowd really loved them, and yeah, it causes a whole lot of issues for all the families and stuff like that. And we push forward to the future a few years, and now we have Akane, who is now an adult, or a high schooler, instead of when she was a kid, because this happens like, I think it's like 6 or 7 years in the past. But anyways, she's a little bit more grown now, and she wants to become a Rakugo storyteller just like her dad, in order to avenge him in a way, because like, yeah, she believes that he was wrongly expelled from the school, which caused a whole host of problems and issues. I'm not trying to talk too much about it, but let's just say some things happen, and she's trying to get back into the school that her dad got expelled from. So overall, this story is already built quite a bit, and it's done really, really well. The writing is fantastic. It helps you to truly understand Rakugo, even if you don't know. But if you do know like about Rakugo, I think it's like a really good example of like showing how awesome this thing is, how fun it can be, because some people would be like, oh, why would you want to go spend an hour watching this dude just tell a story, or watching this lady tell a story? And I think Akane Banashi does a really good job of explaining how it can be entertaining, and how different people can take this like interesting art form and be able to twist it to become like theirs. And I really love that. I think the story is really, really fun. I'm really excited to get into it. The characters are all fantastic, especially the villain, or whoever you want, the antagonist. He is just an absolute terrible person, and I'm really, really interested to see what caused this expulsion. Obviously, I have a feeling this is going to show up later in the series, but I'm really, really curious. A lot of questions were posed, and I'm really excited to see those get answered. So, talking about the art is absolutely wonderful. It's just as good as it is on the cover. A lot of great stuff, just a good mix of imagery and realism coming in here. They really illustrate how these stories are told. They make you feel like you're in that story. You're really being able to like understand how these stories are being told, and it's super cool. I don't know, I think it's really cool that we get this mix of like the character just like, you know, telling the story, but then you also get like what the story is supposed to be, with like the characters showing up and like, oh, these people are talking to one another. There's like 4 people sitting drinking or whatever. So overall, I am just blown away by this first volume. This was a fantastic first volume. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, but I'm really glad that people hyped it up, because yeah, it is super, super, super good. Definitely pick this up. It is worth a shot across the board. It's super good. All right, time to get into our last volume, and that is going to be this wonderful series originally releasing in April of 2019 on the Shonen Jump Plus website, app, whatever. I don't know what it is exactly, but it is this absolutely lovely series, which I didn't even realize was by a mangaka that I was definitely looking forward to. Probably I'm clearly not looking forward to that much, but now I'm like really excited that we have another series, and that is Heart Gear from Tsuyoshi Takaki. Let's get into some information about this. Translation is from Adrian Beck. Touch-up art and lettering from Evan Waldinger. Design is Julian J.R. Robinson, and editor is Holly Fisher. So, why was I talking about this? Because this is the same mangaka behind a series that's called Black Torch. It was a 5-volume series that was randomly released in English, and honestly was pretty flippin' cool. I loved the art. The art was super cool. The story was definitely very interesting, and we just didn't get enough time. It looks like it got canceled before it could truly finish, but honestly, for being a 5-volume series, it really didn't end that bad. But yeah, the action was super awesome, and the art completely blew me away. So when I found out that this series was made by the same person, I actually was reading it halfway through, and I looked over and I was like, who is this? Why does this art look so familiar? And bada bing, bada boom, I was right. Yeah, so I decided to look it up, and now I'm like super hyped about it. So let me get started talking about this cover and the spine. This cover and spine is actually really cool. I'm really glad that they went with like a green black color style, or green white, black color scheme. It looks really good. It pops off like the shelf, and it has like a, I don't know what Walk This Way is just sitting in the background for. Don't know about that, but it's just, I guess, a cool little aesthetic choice, I guess. But features 2 main characters here, and the cover, like the title text is like pretty neat. It's got like a, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like a bold, but neat to see. Really glad they went with a green, because I think the green really helps it to stand out among the rest, I guess. But yeah, let's get started talking about these characters. I'm actually going to talk about both of them because they are both on the cover. So first one is going to be the girl. Her name is, I believe, is Roue. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, she's kind of like a rambunctious little girl. She's really excited to be out in the world showing different things to her Uncle Zet. And this guy, eventually, who's Chrome. But yeah, she's super cool. I actually really like her character. I hope she gets more development as we move on throughout the series. But for starting off in the first volume, yeah, she's pretty cool. Curious and positive. We can always respect a female lead like that. Now, let's talk about Chrome. Chrome is interesting for the sole fact that his character literally is not a character, and it's explained in the story as to why, and I don't mind it. Honestly, he's kind of like a character that's going to be molded by the experiences that come within the story, which is kind of cool, and I'm going to talk about the story because I think that plays a huge part into why Chrome is the way he is. So, the story basically is we're in this like kind of post-apocalyptic world, and the only human, at least that we can think of, is this girl here, Roue, like we said, and she's living with her Uncle Zet, who is this robot that has a certain program in him that is like supposed to be like a father figure. And yeah, so they've been living together for quite a while now, and she goes off into wherever and finds this abandoned thing and activates it, and lo and behold, there's this robot called Chrome that's sitting in it. Chrome doesn't have a program or like a function, so he doesn't have like a personality like Zet does. So they are like, all right, let's give him a really simple task to do and we'll just go from there. So Chrome doesn't have like any kind of personality, doesn't have any background from what we could tell, and yeah, some bad things happen basically, and they need to go on a journey now in order to fix whatever happened during this bad thing. I'm not going to say what exactly this bad thing was, but let's just say it's kind of crazy and not necessarily unexpected, but it is interesting to see what they're going to do, or what the like inciting action was. So yeah, overall story seems to be pretty interesting. The world building is already pretty solid across the board, and I'm really liking most of the characters, so that's cool. But yeah, like the story start wasn't like too surprising. There's not gonna be any big plot twists. It's pretty obvious what's gonna happen for the most part, but I am enjoying it, honestly. I'm really excited to see where volume 2 takes us, because I think in the later chapters you get more information about the world, more information about some of the characters that you get to meet, which is cool. So yeah, is the story super great? No, but it's pretty good in terms of the character writing, so I'm going to say the story is decent. Now, the art is where Tsuyoshi Takaki is always absolutely killing it, and that continues to be the truth here. The art is fantastic. It is so good. It's really well detailed. The action is super, like, heart pumping. Some really great moments, some really great explosions. It's just, like, really flipping cool. The art is so good. Man, I can talk about Tsuyoshi Takaki's work so much, just in terms of the art alone. Like I said, the story is not like amazing or anything, but man, that art just keeps you reading, keeps you interested, keeps you hooked throughout the entire volume. I really like this art. I think it has a really nice display of like character design and like machine design and world building, world design. Overall, super flippin' cool. Is a series for everyone? Probably not, because like I said, like Roue is not necessarily the most interesting character in the world, and obviously Chrome isn't really a character per se yet, so there isn't a lot to like truly connect with the main ones, but the surrounding cast is pretty cool, and the action is always just heart pumping, blood pumping, super cool. So give it a shot if you're like into like a kind of post-apocalyptic action series. I think this will be right up your alley. Alright, let's talk about these series in comparison to one another. So, let's mention them real quick. Once again, we have Akane Banashi, Windbreaker, and Heart Gear. So, very short titles. Nothing super crazy here. But in terms of rating, I think I'm going to rate Windbreaker as my least favorite, Mostly just because it's still very good. I think I preferred Heart Gear and Akane Banashi just a little bit more. It's very enjoyable still. I would say, like I said, give it a shot if you're into that kind of like delinquent action series. But Heart Gear is a good second, and Akane Banashi I think is incomparable to the other two, but it is just so much better in my opinion, and it's my favorite out of the three here. Akane Banashi just does everything very, very well, and it's really exciting. I've never really been as into Rakugo, but man, it's definitely got me interested in Rakugo now. So really excited for the second volume. I think these are all really good starts for their series, and hopefully they are just as good down the line as they are in the first volume. So that's going to be it for this FVI. Let me know what you think about these three volumes in the comments below if you have read them. If you have not, let me know if you are now interested in picking them up, because yeah, I think they are definitely all worth picking up to obviously certain people and everybody in general. So yeah, that's going to be it. You know what to do. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe. Those are all fantastic things. You are awesome. You are fantastic. You are lovely. You are amazing. Thank you for doing all those great things. It keeps me motivated to keep making videos, and I really appreciate all of your guys' support, all the comments and everything. It's just super awesome to read, and you know what to do. That's going to be it. I don't know why I'm repeating myself. Thank you for checking out this FVI, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.